everyone, I'm Victoria, and if you're new to my channel, then welcome. Today I have a video that I'm super excited to make, so without further ado, let's just jump into it. Likely you heard about the new Netflix series called 13 Reasons Why. It's all everyone's really talking about. It's kind of the big thing right now, and for very good reasons. I just felt that it brought so many important issues to light in such a way that I've never really seen done before, and the producers really went out on a big leap to deliver such important messages, and I thought it really opened up an opportunity for discussion because it's things that should be talked about that aren't being talked about enough. So I really wanted to make this video right away as all the events from the show are fresh in my mind. So if you haven't heard about the show, basically it's about this young girl who's 17 who starts off at a new high school, and she basically starts getting bullied and she finds herself getting involved with the wrong crowds, and everything is slowly building up, and then she commits suicide. And that's not a spoiler or anything because you know from the very start of the show that she is dead, and the show essentially takes place going back and forth between the past and present events to see how everyone in her life is really coping with it, and as they try to figure out the reasons why she really killed herself. And this is because she leaves behind 13 tapes for all 13 people who basically had some kind of influence in her making her decision to commit suicide. So the show is really about all these kids trying to piece together everything and really reflect on what they did that maybe hurt her feelings or pushed her over the edge. Right away, I just want to say there are going to be some spoilers in this because I'm going to be talking about the series as a whole in terms of the first season, including even what happens at the end. So if you are still watching it or plan to watch it, maybe this video is not for you, but do come back when you're done. First things first, one of the reasons that you should watch this show is because it's a good show. I mean, all things set aside, it is just an enjoyable thing to watch, and I normally don't get into shows too often, and I literally binge watched it in 2 days. It got to the point where I was up until 6 a.m. both nights because I literally couldn't stop watching it until I got to the point where my eyes physically couldn't stay open. It is just a very good storyline, and it was made so well. So the reason this show is so special is because it brings a lot of awareness to bullying and sexual assault and suicide, and it represents it in a way that no show or a movie or anything has really done before. I think the producers really went on a big leap, and I imagine their thought process was that if we're going to bring awareness to such big issues, we're going to go in and we're going to do it right. They didn't shy away from anything. They show a lot of graphic content, and it's really raw and real, and it's honestly terrifying, and that's how it should be because I think all of us watching it need to realize how big these issues are, and we really need to use our voice to start a conversation, start talking, and break the stigma. Obviously, this is a thing that's been going on around recently where we're trying to get people to realize that it's okay to come forward and get help, and that it's not something that should be looked down on, and this show really did that justice. I've been depressed in my life before, and it's never been to a very bad extent, but I have had thoughts like, what if people in my life would be better out without me here, or I have no purpose, and stuff like that. And this show really goes deep inside to really let you know how the main character Hannah is feeling, and you can kind of see her go downhill and just start to get more and more numb, and to the point where she cares less and less about her life. And it's really a sad, tragic story, honestly. The show really did justice to showing what high school can be like, because when you're 17, in spite of like contrary belief, your brain is still developing, and you can't really process certain things in a way that adults can't, even in just the sense alone that you don't have as much life experience, because high school is usually when you're experimenting around and experiencing things in your life for the first time, and things can seem like the end of the world when you're young. When I think back to when I was 17 compared to being 20 now, I feel like when something bad happens, yeah, it sucks, but you just deal with it and know that everything happens for a reason and you move on. But when you're that young, going through high school, and you have so much pressure on you, little things do honestly feel like the end of the world. Another thing that this show represented really well is that a lot of people will be looking out for certain signs to see if someone is reaching out for help, but in more cases than we'd expect, there are really no signs. People will just brush it off and act like they normally would. Going back to my personal experience when I was going through a pretty bad time in high school, and I would classify myself as depressed, I had my group of friends I was with every single day, and no one noticed anything different about me because you can still laugh and talk and act like you normally would around your friends and family, but it's just, you feel like you're not really all there and you're just numb to everything and you have no feelings and you just don't really care, and it's a really upsetting situation, and it's even scarier that it's hard for people to pick up on. This show was very dark and it was honestly really hard to watch at some points. One of the big things that probably resonated with a lot of people, I'm lucky to say I've never been a victim of sexual assault or anything, but I know a lot of people are. This show demonstrated quite a bit of rape, particularly in the scene with the main character. They emphasized like keeping the camera on her face for longer than is comfortable because it just seems so real, and in that moment you can see her really being pushed over the edge and just absolutely defeated. And it's sad because this is something that happens in real life with girls every single day, and in a lot of cases they feel like they won't be able to come forward or talk to people about it or get the justice they need, which is honestly tragic that that happens. I really think that this show is for both girls and guys. God forbid there are any guys who watch the show who maybe have been involved in like sexual assault before and don't really understand the severity of the situation or the impact it can have on victims. And hopefully if guys watch this and they clue in and see how it really can bring someone down and how it's just, you know, a crime in general, it's illegal. This show put everything together so perfectly. Even in the end, the way they make you really resonate with the main character Hannah and what she's going through in high school. Even though you know she's dead the entire time, they show like her entire suicide scene, and it's heartbreaking because in the end you feel like you're still rooting for her even though you know how it's gonna end, and you just, it's so raw, and you see her parents' reaction to it and the boy Clay who was in love with her, and it's a really touching series, honestly. And I think it's something that our generation needs, and that it was done in a way that's gonna scare people, but it's really gonna get people thinking, which is exactly what it should do. Now, other than that, I don't really have much to say because you've really just got to go watch it for yourself. I'm making this video to encourage you to go see the show if you haven't, and to spread it around and let your friends know about it, because this is honestly a show that is gonna get people to start talking, and it's gonna be for the right reasons. I don't really gravitate towards shows, but I'm so glad I got into this. It's honestly so amazing. And then another thing that this show really emphasizes is that you have no idea what anyone's going through at any given moment. I mean, no matter how close you think you are to them. I think if I were to use an example, then Justin from the show would be a good example. He basically starts this whole downhill spiral with Hannah and her self-esteem. He starts this rumor about her, and he's just a mean high school jock guy, and you start the show not really liking him, and then as you go more into the series you see his home life and how his mom is just an awful influence for him, and his home life isn't good, and she has boyfriends over that one almost suffocated him to death and the mom still chose the boyfriend over him. It's a lot to explain, but if you watch the show you'll understand, and you get to really see why people are the way they are. And I just think the show not straying away from all the graphic aspects of it really just, I don't know, it just like leaves me speechless. It's definitely hard to watch, but I think it's something that people need to see and hear and understand, and I think this show did it in the best way possible, and I really think it's something that everyone should be watching right now. There's a reason it's the buzz right now, and I really think it's gonna help people realize the severity of sexual assault and suicide, and that it's not something to be taken lightly, and that we should be more open to discussion so that those who may be struggling in silence feel like it's okay to come out and get help and talk to people, and that everyone's there for them if they need them. Again, I'm gonna end off today's video, but if you haven't, make sure to like this video.